The best top expert tips and hacks to make your life better. LifeHakx. Technology, business, multimedia, wellness and health, events, reviews, and more. LifeHakx. This is Mary Collins from LifeHakx Media, and I'm back with Gary Banford, who is talking about his treatment and his fight against cancer, and along with the charities that he is supporting through fitness, health, and exercise. Hi, Gary. How are you?
Hi. How you doing?
So, Gary, we were talking about your motivation and your fitness program as well as charities, but we just want to rewind a little bit and talk about, you mentioned having to travel 2.5 hours to get your chemotherapy. Can you just explain a bit more about why you have to travel so far, what it involves?
Yeah, no problem. So I could have chosen right at the very start to get my chemotherapy done locally, which is about 10, 15 minutes away.
Okay.
But I was very fortunate. I say very fortunate that my biopsies of my cancers came back, and I showed a biomarker that made me applicable for getting a place. There was lots of other things go with it, but this biomarker was the most specific thing. And I showed the biomarker that allowed me to get onto an immunotherapy trial, and which is I grab with both hands.
Mm-hmm.
But the downside of that is the research team running the trial in the north of Scotland is through in Aberdeen, which is 2 to 2.5 hours away. Mm-hmm. And because of this, my chemotherapy and my immunotherapy, they've combined it all together. Therefore, I have to do the whole lot with the research team in Aberdeen. Mm. So it's one of those things. It's take the good with the bad.
Right. And is that something that they're trying to, is that something that also needs sort of funding, getting these sort of therapies giving them more outreach? We have these vaccines that are coming for this pandemic that hasn't really affected the population as much as it was expected to. And yet here we have people with cancer and all these new things like this immunotherapy, and it seems to be quite rare depending on where you are. So
it is, and there are some immunotherapies out there already, but still in their absolute infancy. The trial that they put me onto, it's the immunotherapy is basically designed to make your own immune system fight the cancer, which it can't, and it doesn't do under traditional medicines, traditional chemotherapies.
Correct.
So I'm doing chemotherapy and immunotherapy hand in hand, and I should be on the immunotherapy for up to 2 years.
Okay. And that immunotherapy, it involves some sort of like vitamin D as well? Or what are the...
It doesn't per se as in part of the therapy, but they do state that I should be taking vitamin D along with other vitamins, and I should be taking them purely to boost my immune system, my own immune system, and keeping me healthy. So I'm taking a multivitamin, taking some fish oil, and I've just started taking calcium and vitamin D as a prescription as well.
Okay, excellent. It's just good to know about the fact that we do work well with vitamin D and, like you said, fish oil, and things that are natural can really help boost the immune system and help the body to fight viruses and infections itself, and even help against the chemotherapy, which kills everything generally. Your body needs as much as it can get to push back and fight. All right. So we were talking also about what affects you the most when it comes to sleep and thought processes, and just kind of getting through, because this whole segment is about motivation, and like you said earlier, with this COVID and everything, it kind of stopped family gatherings, and these lockdowns kind of have kept people apart. What mentally, because you must have some serious strength mentally to do all of these things, cross Australia on a bicycle in a kilt, raise all this money for charities through fitness, even when you yourself are struggling. What mentally do you do, or what helps you? Like, what do you say to yourself when you're really in a lot of pain or you're struggling?
That's a good question. I generally start with crying, and emotionally, it's like it comes around the corner and hits me for no reason. Well, there is reason there, obviously, but it seems like for no reason I get very emotional, and start looking into big, dark, deep holes, and I use these emotional outbursts, which invariably always seem to be crying for no reason. I'm a 50-year-old red-blooded male that cries for no reason, or apparently. And I just say, and this is where my wife comes in. She notes it early, and she comes and gives me a kick up the bum or a hug, depending on how I'm being. But generally, I use the climbing out of the dark hole, the stopping the crying, as my tools to go into the garage gym and knock out some press ups, or do 500 meters on the rowing machine.
Okay.
It's the hardest question to ask, and also the best one to answer, is what gets me out the other side. And it is a realization that I'm better than this. I'm better than the cancer. I'm stronger than the cancer. The cancer will not defeat me. I will defeat it, regardless of what anybody else says, doctors, psychiatrists, friends, family. It's everybody can give you a nudge and help you get to where you need to be, but it's to look within yourself and just say, I'm better than you. And that's talking directly to the cancer.
Life hacks.
Like you said, I mean, having a bit of an emotional may not be totally bad, because it helps release a lot of the hormones that cause stress, right? You release stress hormones by having a good cry, but you're saying it's important also to pull yourself back, because you can keep spiraling if you let it take over with those thoughts and those emotions. So doing something physical, by, like you said, going to the gym. And for people who aren't able to exercise strenuously, maybe draw something, write something, throw something, do whatever it is physically to help relieve some of that stress and get back on track.
I mean, another thing, and for me, it's the physical, the primary thing I grasp onto to fight the motivation is the physical, the gym, and that's because that's the type of person I've been. I've also just bought. Well, I've had it for a long time, but I'm about to bring it out of the box as an aircraft model that I'm going to start building. I've started writing a book on my life in the Royal Air Force and my sport within the Royal Air Force, and a very ad hoc, tongue-in-cheek, possibly bite your lip kind of book, but it's just for me. Whether it goes anywhere, it just notes on bits of paper and in the computer. And going back to the tears and the crying, they're my doorbell to say, I need to go and open the door. And that door, as I'm opening, is the door to the garage gym, or the door to the diary that's right in the book, or the door. So I'm using my emotions as handrails to get me from the dark to the light. And it doesn't need to be physical. It can be anything. You just need to grasp something and make your emotions lead you to your crutch that's going to help you get through the next 5 minutes, the next hour, the next day, the next week, the next month.
That is wonderful. That is actually the best life hacks of life that you can ever offer anyone. I mean, wow, that's just so emotional. You could literally just... To find out a little bit more about the charities that you're helping with, Abby Sparkle Foundation, which helps children with cancer. I think that's extra special because cancer really affects everyone. It affects the entire family.
Abby Sparkle Foundation is doing more than just looking after the sufferer. It's the entire family setup, and that's what grabbed me. Is my whole family have got benefit out of me, out of Abby Sparkle Foundation helping me. My whole family got benefit out of it, and we did some great things in that week. We were in the holiday home. My wife and my two kids went cycling. We went cross country, and we did. They did a number of other things whilst I was lying in their bed. I can't do it. You go and do it without me. But they got some great things out of it. So.
Yeah. So the fact that they're trying to help and the fact that you're helping them is in itself wonderful. And that's why it's so important with LifeHakx that we will be putting up all of Abby Sparkle information as well as your YouTube channel so that people can get started with their fitness journey as well as be motivated to get off their back ends and do something with themselves.
Yeah.
Even if it means opening up a notepad and, as I said, drawing or doing something. So first of all, to get to your fundraising to Abby's Sparkle, one can go to the UK virginmoneygiving.com fundraising site, and we will put the direct link, but you can also just look it up yourself, guys. It's just Gary Banford, and it will come up for his charity. On Twitter, you are at Gary_Banford. Instagram, Gary_Banford, and Facebook, Gary Banford. And on the YouTube channel, it's Gary's Fight Against Cancer. So all of these links will be up on lifehakx.com. That's with a K and an X. And we will continue to follow Gary's story, and maybe I'll get a sneak peek on some of the notes before they go out there for the public. But you have been an absolute motivational, inspirational a beam of light for the start of this year that we go into, most of us not knowing what's next and a little bit depressed and feeling sorry for ourselves. And you show us what it means to fight back and to take back. I actually started the new year dressed up as a pirate because I was like, I'm going to be Buccaneer ready for 2021. I'm going in with a fight. And I think you've actually you're showing us and you're telling us how we can actually approach this pandemic and this new year with a sense of strength. Fight for yourself, fight for your family, fight for your community, and just get started somewhere. So thank you so much, Gary. It's been a pleasure.
No, thank you very much. Thank you.
The best top expert tips and hacks to make your life better. LifeHakx. Technology, business, multimedia, wellness and health, events, reviews, and more. LifeHakx.